This little session here is designed to give you a little bit of information about the program requirements for the nursing program, our admissions process, what that looks like, a guaranteed acceptance program or early admission program, and then the curriculum of the major for nursing. So here at St. Cloud State, this is a bachelor's degree program in nursing. We're a traditional 4-year program. Students typically will spend 3 semesters taking pre-admission coursework and then 5 semesters in the major itself. So it does take 4 years to complete. And again, this is a bachelor's degree program in nursing. We are fully accredited by the Commission on Collegiate Nursing Education and approved by the Minnesota State Board of Nursing. That's super important in nursing programs. You definitely want to look for a program that is has the highest accreditation in the field and is approved by the Minnesota State Board of Nursing. That will be important for licensure and also important then for employment. Our graduates are eligible to sit for the NCLEX to become a registered nurse or an RN. So this is, again, a degree program. You get a degree in nursing, but what makes you a registered nurse is the passage of that national exam called the NCLEX. Some people refer to it as a board exam. Our first time pass rate on that exam is 92%, which right now is about the highest in the state of Minnesota of all of the bachelor's degree programs. First time pass rates is how the board looks at success of an institution and their curriculum. So again, we put about 100 or so students up against that exam every year, and 92% of them will pass that exam on the first attempt. So admission to our program is a very objective process. We look at just the 4 criteria that are listed on the screen there. It is a competitive process. So a student first applies to St. Cloud State University, and then about the middle of the sophomore year, they make application for admission to this major. We can take just 45 students every semester, and we're looking at just the 4 criteria that are listed on the screen. So behind the scenes, we're taking data and we're putting out a rubric and we're assigning applicants points. And you can see the points breakdown here on your screen. So a St. Cloud State cumulative GPA is worth 10 of the possible 110 points in our process. A cumulative St. Cloud State GPA is any course ever taken at St. Cloud State. So if you are a PSEO student with us, that would count if that course again was taken at St. Cloud State University. Then we look at a pre-admission GPA. I'm going to dive here a little bit deeper into what courses comprise the pre-admission GPA, but that's more heavily weighted. That would be 35 of the 110 possible points. We have an entrance exam to our program known as the HESI. That is the biggest chunk of the puzzle there. It's the biggest piece that we look at, scores on that entrance exam. I'll give you much more detail about what that means here in a moment. And then the smallest portion is our references. So again, we take this data from your GPA, we put it on a rubric, we assign you points, and we just admit our highest point earners. We'll have roughly 100 students apply every semester, and again, we can take 45 students. So as promised, here's that pre-admission nursing coursework. This is, again, a more heavily weighted GPA that we look at in our process. So students will take these 8 courses and will derive a specific GPA from just these 8. The 8 are like an English composition course, a general communication studies course, a developmental or lifespan, human growth and development type psychology course. Our math is a math or statistical thinking class. This is even a little bit like lower level than college algebra. Our chemistry is a general organic and biological chemistry course. And then we have our biologies. So anatomy and physiology 1, anatomy and physiology 2, and then microbiology. These courses are designed to be broken out over 3 semesters. Many of these courses are sequential. So for example, you can't take anatomy and physiology 2 without first being successful in anatomy and physiology 1. So listed here is roughly 30 credits. So again, you would take these over 3 semesters in conjunction with any liberal education courses. And again, a student applies for admission to the program in the first part of the sophomore year. And if they're successful and admitted, then they would begin nursing major courses in the second semester of the sophomore year. If you're transferring credits to St. Cloud State University, that's certainly acceptable and would be accepted by the nursing program if the course you took at another institution is a direct equivalent of what we're looking for from this list of classes, okay? So if you're at Anoka Ramsey and you're taking Communication Studies 2310, you would use this website here, transferology.com, to determine, does that course transfer to St. Cloud State as Communication Studies 192? And hopefully the answer is yes, right? So if you're taking a course as a PSEO student now, or you have hopes of taking classes over a summer semester or something, transferology.com is your tool to figure out what course can I take at another institution to ensure that it transfers to St. Cloud State, how I hope. We do applications twice per year. So students have the opportunity to apply in January. That's it. Our deadline is in mid-January to start the nursing major the following fall. And then we do that in the spring as well. We have an application deadline in early September for students who want to begin the program in our spring semester. And our website, stcloudstate.edu/nursing, will have the most up-to-date deadlines, specifics about the date in which an application is due to our department. Application requirements. So how do I know that I'm eligible to apply to the nursing major? Well, first I have to go find the application, right? So again, you would visit stcloudstate.edu/nursing and find the application, fill it out, and submit the documents that we're looking for with the application. Those documents would include transcripts from any institution that you've attended, as well as a degree audit report. When students become admitted to the university, participate in advising and registration day, they learn a lot of detail about how to acquire those documents, how to find their transcripts, how to find their degree audit through our student portal. The minimum GPA to apply to our program is 2.75. Okay, so a student must have a minimum St. Cloud State GPA of 2.75 and a minimum nursing pre-admission GPA of 2.75. That may seem a little low. It is, right? That's the minimum. The average GPA for students who are getting admitted to our program is more like a 3.40, 3.30, somewhere in that ballpark. That's the type of GPA that's getting admitted to the program. We accept no less than a C in any course. So a student, even who earns a C- in one of our classes, would need to repeat that before they can apply to the program. Of the list of classes in pre-admission, a student can only be enrolled in the Biology 206, which is our microbiology course, when they apply to the program. So if you think back to this list of classes, the first 7 of them here must be done before a student can submit an application to the major. They can only be taking this microbiology class as well as liberal education courses when they're submitting their application to the program. And then there are reference forms that are attached to our application packet. Students have to turn in 2 reference forms in order for their application to be complete. So again, we'll kind of take an initial look at a student's application when they submit it, ensure that all of these criteria have been met, that numbers 1 through 6 are true for that application, that we can say, yes, the minimum GPA has been met. Yes, the student is only enrolled in the microbiology course. Yes, the student submitted their references and have their transcripts and degree audits with this application. If we can, again, say that numbers 1 through 6 are true, a student will progress to our second part of our application process, which is here, this entrance exam known as the HESI. So this is an on-campus entrance exam that we proctor. It's 5 hours, it's computer-based, and it looks at 5 criteria. reading comprehension, vocabulary, grammar, math, and anatomy and physiology are all measured on that exam. So again, after we have this data point here, we'll put that into our rubric and we'll assign an applicant points. Again, then we'll rank those students and offer admission to the top 45 point earners. If a student is admitted to the program, offered admission, there's a couple other criteria they must also meet. We do need students to provide proof of American Heart Association CPR certification at the healthcare provider level. Students need to pass a Minnesota criminal background check. They need to pass a drug and alcohol screen. We do a health screening and immunization information with our student medical clinic. And then students have to attend a new nursing student orientation program. These criteria here aren't really something students need to worry about until they're actually first year students on campus and are in the application process. Everybody who we invite for admission, we give details, for example, on how to obtain this certification. CPR certifications are only good for 2 years. So this isn't something that you would want to run out and do today. Again, it's something that you'll take care of if you're offered admission to the program. So I'm going to pause right there for just a second. Are there any questions? I don't think I see. Let me look in the chat here. I know, Catherine, if you could help me out, are there any questions in the chat or questions that people have that I can answer at this time? I don't think I see any. All right, so I'll move on to the early admission or guaranteed acceptance program would be another terminology that some nursing programs will use when it comes to this idea of using high school criteria to determine whether a student is just guaranteed one of the spaces in our program. Okay, so to qualify for the early admission program, a student has to have a composite ACT score of 26 or higher, and that must have to have been earned by December of the student's senior year. Okay. We know that at this point, several ACT testing dates have been postponed or canceled, and so we're aware of that, and we may make exceptions to this for the class of 2021. But we have not made exceptions to it for the class of 2020. So again, a composite ACT of 26 or higher, and then a high school GPA of 3.2 or higher. So that's an and statement. So both of those criteria need to be met in order to consider for the early admission program.
So we
now
have
we find, oh, go ahead, Catherine.
So we have 2 questions on the chat. Do you offer a period where nursing students can test out and receive their 2-year RN before completion of the 4 years?
No, we are not part of the main, the Minnesota Alliance of Nursing Education. We are not a main program. So a student does not test for licensure until the end of the program.
And then the other question is that a super score ACT score? I think they were talking asking
right.
about when you were going through that.
Yep, exactly. It is. We would super score them. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So like I was saying, so we kind of find this population. There's no application specifically for early admission. We will query our system in February of the student's senior year, and we will say, okay, tell me every student who's been admitted to St. Cloud State who meets these criteria listed here, who indicates that they want to be a nursing student. And then we'll reach out to that population via mail with a contract. And in that contract, it will basically state that, hey, it looks like you've met our minimum criteria here. Are you willing to participate in the early admission nursing program? And if you say yes, then you are agreeing to these 3 bullet points here. You're saying that I will maintain a cumulative GPA in the nursing pre-admission courses of at least a 3.0 or higher. I will earn a C or better in all the nursing pre-admission courses. and I cannot withdraw from any of the nursing pre-admission courses. And we check this every semester. When grades are posted, we go through our early admission folks and we make sure that these criteria continue to be met. So that, of course, then begs the question from people, how many of your 45 spots are taken up by students who have an early admission contract with us? And the answer is not many. We started this program in the fall of 2015, so we're on our 5th year of admitting students through early admission. And they've got this small little bullet here at the bottom of this slide. So fall of 2015, we had 9 students who accepted contracts with us for early admission. And over the course of that academic year, 5 of them remained eligible to be admitted via the early admission process. So that meant that 3 of them were in one application cycle and 2 in the other. We've never had more than 4 be in any one application cycle. So the criteria to get in are quite rigid, and the criteria to stay in are quite rigid. You can see our data from fall of 16 and fall of 17. About half of the people who accept contracts make it to the point of actually being admitted to the major through an early acceptance process. I should mention too that all the same coursework is necessary. If you're an early admission student, the timeline is the same. If you're an early admission student, you still must actually submit a physical application if you're an early admission student. So a little bit of FAQ here. I think I probably answered a lot of this, but I'll kind of roll through this here. How many students apply? Like I said, we typically have about 100 applicants each semester, and each semester we take 45 students. I did sort of highlight too that though our minimum GPA to submit an application is a 2.75, our average GPA hovers around 3.3 or 3.4. Transfer coursework. Absolutely, we accept transfer coursework, and I kind of went through a process there referring to transferology.com, where we have a lot of students who over the summer want to take a class to maybe lessen their load during one of the fall or spring terms, who want to maybe try to get admitted a little bit sooner, something like that. Transferology.com is your tool to determine how courses transfer to St. Cloud State. Waiting lists, I have not talked about that. Do we maintain a waiting list? No, we don't maintain any sort of waiting list. So if a student is not admitted, they would need to reapply to the program the following semester or in the future. I should say though that I often get asked what happens to the students who are not admitted. If you're not admitted to the program, we invite you in to have a conversation and look at our scoring rubric so that you can see how your scores compared to applicants who were offered admission to the program. And so then we'll have conversation with the student about what is it that they need to do to be a more competitive applicant. What does that look like? Oftentimes that will mean retaking a course, possibly studying differently for the entrance exam, the HESI exam. So we talk with the student through all of those details. We provide remediation for the student if they didn't have the best HESI exam scores, so that on a second application to the program, they hopefully can be more successful. This 4th question here that says, do you require a CNA certification to apply to the program? And the answer here is no. We are not a program that looks for a student to have any sort of background in nursing whatsoever. And there's no advantage to having any background in healthcare and when you come through the application process. You could have never stepped foot in a hospital before, or you could have previously been a licensed practical nurse. There's no advantage either way in our application process. I certainly think that having a CNA or working as a personal care attendant is helpful, just for the fact that it helps a student figure out if nursing is for them. right? You get to be in a healthcare setting, you get to work alongside lots of different folks in healthcare roles, so that you can hopefully get a sense of what this job is about and if this is a career that you'd like to pursue. And then how long is our nursing program? I touched on this in the very beginning. We have 3 semesters where a student is taking that pre-admission coursework to make application to the program, and then 5 semesters of nursing major specific courses. I'll pause right there too as well, and see. I don't think I see any other chat questions either, so I'll keep rolling here. So opportunities for involvement outside of the nursing program. I know Catherine mentioned briefly, study abroad or education abroad at St. Cloud State is very popular. And there's 2 opportunities for study abroad that are specific to the nursing program. I should be really honest with you and say that studying abroad prior to making application to the program will extend your time at St. Cloud State. You'll be here 4.5 years, or you would need to do that in a summer semester in order to stay on a 4-year plan. Finding science courses from international institutions that are acceptable for our curriculum is very challenging, and so basically just doesn't happen. So we recommend to students, if they're interested in study abroad, that they do it specifically with the nursing major in these 2 places that are listed on your screen, or they do that over a summer semester. Or if they're willing to spend 4.5 years at St. Cloud State, that's great too. So our nursing specific study abroad opportunities are in South Africa and in Chile. South Africa is an opportunity that a group of students go with one of our nursing faculty members every spring semester, and it's a public health type of experience. So we have a partner institution in South Africa with their students, but we also do a lot of like immunization and vaccination plus nutrition outreach with populations in South Africa, and then HIV prevention and education as well. Language speaking skill, there is none, right? English is the language spoken in South Africa, so there's no need to speak a second language. But our other opportunity in Chile, a student would need to be fluent in Spanish. This is a like 1 or 2 student type experience where the student lives with a host family in Chile, and so that's a little bit more immersive. And again, it has a public health type of feel to it in that experience. Our nursing club is very active on campus. So they do a blood drive every semester. They bring in a lot of speakers from the hospital, doctors and nurses and folks in healthcare to talk about their role in the healthcare system and how they interact and with nursing populations. So it's a really great opportunity for students who are not admitted to the program to rub shoulders with those who are, because you can enter the nursing club or be active in the nursing club without being in our major, admitted to our major yet. You could be first semester, first year student, and you could start participating in nursing club. So I see a lot of really great relationships form between students who are pre-admission and students who are admitted. Just again, building those relationships, learning more about the nursing profession, and just getting more connected campus. So now I'm going to roll through really quickly here just a little bit about the nursing major itself. Reminder, I said there are 5 semesters of the nursing major coursework. And I'm just going to scan through these slides here to give you a little bit of an overview of what that looks like once you're admitted to the program. So the very first semester that you start nursing major curriculum classes is kind of a basic nursing skill building type semester where we've got like our professional nursing skills, practicums. We do have a very short clinical rotation right away in this first semester. So we spend a lot of time in our simulation lab for the first 10 weeks of the semester, and then we send our students out for 4 or 5 weeks to St. Cloud Hospital for a short clinical rotation. This would be in the medical surgical floor at St. Cloud Hospital and a bone and joint floor at St. Cloud Hospital. The second semester, the topics here are pharmacology, and we have care of our older adult. So this again is a semester where there are 2 clinical rotations for students. Typically, a student will find themselves in a lecture or didactic course on Mondays and Fridays. And those are kind of longer days of lecture. But then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are clinical prep, clinical prep, clinical for this type, the semester 2, 3, and 4 of the major. The third semester, our field here is OB-Peds, mental health. We've got our nursing ethics course in this semester. If I didn't already say that, most of our clinical experiences are at St. Cloud Hospital, which is maybe 2 or 3 miles from campus, accessible by bus. So it's quite convenient for our students to go to and from campus and the hospital quite easily. The 4th semester of the program, we've got healthcare populations, that's public health, care of our older adults, and some more advanced nursing practice in the 4th semester. And then the last semester of the major, this is a front-loaded term, meaning that students will spend 3 or 4 weeks on campus doing like this cross-cultural and global nursing class, this nursing leadership and management class, and then they'll spend the good chunk of their semester doing a capstone or an immersion experience, a practicum, an internship, if you will, whatever word you'd like to use. So we're sending our students out into the field for about 12 weeks. So they're paired with a preceptor at a hospital or clinic, and they're following that individual for about 12 weeks. So if that individual works nights and weekends, that's when you're following them, right? And we hopefully by that point have exposed you to as many facets of nursing as possible, as many types of nursing as possible. And so when you get to your 5th semester here, when we're talking about what your capstone might look like, you have an idea or a vision of what that might be. Maybe right now you're thinking you want to be an OB-Ped nurse, right? But then you actually witness a birth and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe not. Maybe I'm interested in cardiac care. Maybe I'm interested in surgical care, that type of thing. So we can try to get you a capstone experience that aligns with some of your interests. Again, highlights of our program here at St. Cloud State University. We have a very high pass rate on the NCLEX licensing exam. For me, that's like the biggest selling feature of a program is, can they get their students to pass the licensing exam to become a registered nurse? We have a program that has a lot of experiential learning and simulation opportunities throughout it. And then our student to teacher faculty ratio is great, right? So when you're in that lecture course, 45 students to 1 faculty, obviously. When we're in our simulation lab, it would be 1 faculty to 12 students. And when we're out on clinical rotation, 1 faculty to 8 students. And then nursing obviously is a very hot career field right now, so excellent job opportunities in the field of nursing. Right here, we're looking at our OB and PED simulation space. So these are low fidelity mannequins in our OB and PED area. This mannequin that we're kind of zoomed in here right now is our postpartum mannequin. So we do a lot of postpartum assessment on this particular mannequin here. Video is going to just get a closer shot of one of our sim babies. This baby is a high fidelity simulation mannequin. So it has a lot of features that your body has, a lot of functions that your body can do. It's got the soft spot on the head, the baby cries, moves. This particular mannequin is actually wireless as well. So we can get data from this mannequin and move about the lab, maybe do a simulation where we're transporting baby to ambulance or helicopter or something. It has all the mechanical bells and whistles. We can do heart rhythms, lung sounds, bowel sounds. We can put fluids in, we can take fluids out. Actually, a very tricky skill to learn on a small individual is counting heart rhythms and respirations on newborn babies. So it's kind of cool that we have this high fidelity simulator so our students can practice that and get a lot of time with the mannequin before they actually go out into our clinical rotations. So that's kind of a close-up there of that sim baby. And then here, this is Noelle. So Noelle is a birthing mannequin. We don't have video of her actually giving birth, but we can put fetus up into belly of this mannequin, and through use of remote control, she can go through the process of labor and delivery. I did mention that in the third semester, a student is admitted to the major that does have an OB-PED course in that semester. And we do try to expose students up to 3 live births in that clinical rotation, but expectant moms don't always cooperate. And so we can simulate lots of different birthing outcomes in our simulation lab here with a mannequin like Noelle. So this is our OB and PED simulation area here. Video should move in. This is our high fidelity simulation space, okay? So this mannequin is a high fidelity mannequin, meaning that it's basically can do everything that you can do. It can talk, it has a heart rhythm, it has lung sounds, bowel sounds, pulses from neck on down to feet. It certainly doesn't derive its own speech, but through the use of our control lab, the mannequin can respond to a student. So if I were standing over this mannequin right now, I could approach and ask questions like, introduce myself and say, good morning, my name is Rochelle. How are you feeling today? And the mannequin from the control room with a faculty person running the controls, the mannequin respond to me and say, gosh, I'm really feeling lightheaded, for example. That would be something as a student nurse I would take note of and maybe do additional assessments regarding, right? So I'd say, what else do I need to do? My patient is reporting these symptoms. And so then I can go through and do assessments on this type of mannequin. We can intubate a high fidelity mannequin like this. We can put them on a ventilator. We can use a defibrillator. And we have all those tools in our simulation lab at St. Cloud State. So students get practice then doing all of those things. Let's see here. He blinked, did you see him blink? He kind of coughed a little bit too. And then he gives us the output and data at the bedside at each monitor, right? So we can assess his vitals and we can get data right at the bedside. The data here is controlled again from our control room. So our faculty in a control room then can maybe increase the mannequin's heart rate or drop his blood pressure or all kinds of different kinds of situations. We can also change the lung sounds in the chest. We can do a lot of different things. We can do a code blue is one of the simulations that we do with a mannequin of this type. Every one of our bedsides has a computer like this at it. And so in addition to being used in this function where it's reporting some data from the mannequin, it can also be used for access to an electronic medical record. So our students can log into what's known as EPIC, which is the electronic medical record that St. Cloud Hospital is using. And they can look at lab values, patient history, charting information, do care planning right at the bedside. So each one of the head walls of our simulation spaces is equipped with this type of technology. We're going to jump over to more of our low fidelity. Here's a low fidelity simulation space. So like I mentioned before, The head wall here is all live and active. There's that computer station. We've got electronic vital signs machine kind of right here. The head walls on all of these beds are live and active. So I can apply oxygen, I can use suction, I can move the bed, I can push the call light, that type of thing. We've got different mannequins here with different ethnic backgrounds, different ages, things like that. So a variety of types of mannequins, genders in our simulation lab. This here is more of a low fidelity mannequin. So low fidelity meaning it has some of the bells and whistles that high fidelity mannequins have. This one can't talk or move or make any sounds of any type, but we can still do some very basic nursing skill building on a mannequin like this. These mannequins in the low fidelity areas are not attached to our control room. So like I said, we can, do some vital signs. We take a temperature, a blood pressure. We can give injections. We can maybe do Foley catheters on this type of mannequin, but we can't do some of those very acute, high-level nursing skill on a mannequin like this. In our simulation space, I know it's very hard to see in this video, we have 15 beds that are low fidelity and 5 that are high fidelity. So lots of opportunities for our students to get access to and practice nursing skill in our simulation spaces. We also have a computer lab on the floor in Brown Hall. That's where nursing is located. We have a computer lab, and we have a student lounge with locker areas, and we have 2 large lecture classrooms that seat about 50 students in each one of those spaces. I'll let the video roll here for just a couple more minutes. You can kind of see just a kind of a panoramic of the rest of what we call the large simulation space. We also have a ceiling lift in this area that shows, that helps our students train on how to use a ceiling lift and other equipment in the nursing area. I should mention too that in addition to just having all this great equipment, we also provide tools for students to help them perfect those skills. And the way that we do that is by offering student tutors in our lab spaces after hours. So typically those lab spaces are utilized by classes for much of the day. A simulation lab course may happen from like 10 until noon or 10 until 2 p.m. during a day, right? And then after that, there would be open lab time, and we provide student tutors from 3 in the afternoon until 9 p.m. Monday through Thursday. So students can come into the lab space when their classes aren't in session and practice those nursing skills. Because nursing is very hands-on, and there'll be many times throughout the program where a student will need to demonstrate skill in front of faculty members. And so in order to be prepared for that type of testing type situation, a student needs opportunity to practice. And so our simulation labs are open in the evening with upper class students available as tutors to help students work on those skills and feel comfortable moving into a test out situation. We also, throughout the curriculum, will give students a practice portion of the NCLEX after each semester. Okay, so let's again go back to that OB and PED semester, the 3rd semester of the major. You've just finished all that coursework. Now we're going to give you like some NCLEX style questions about that content. Okay, so you're going to be pretending like this is NCLEX, and these are the types of questions you'll see on the NCLEX related to this topic. And you'll take that exam and you'll get a score. And we'll be able to tell you, gosh, had this been NCLEX, would you have passed in this content? If the answer is yes, terrific. If not, then we have some tools to help students remediate in that content so that they can feel better prepared as we move toward closer and closer to graduation, and then of course, closer and closer to taking that licensing exam. So again, we have lots of opportunities for students to have lots of touches in the nursing field, lots of remediation, lots of support from our faculty throughout the entire curriculum.